Third and goal. Tannehill fires. McNichols got a step. Touchdown! Jeremy McNichols!
We'll take it!
Welcome back to Titans Tube, everybody. My name is Justin, and this is Jake with me here, and we are recapping the Tennessee Titans 25-16 victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Jake, it was a little stressful. I was pretty nervous for much of the second half, but an ugly win still counts, and the Titans are now 2-1 atop of the AFC South standings. I was actually at the game. I thought the crowd was good. It got pretty impressively loud at some points in the game, and I was happy to see that after that horrendous Week 1 home game. So I'm glad the fans came back and gave the Titans another chance to deliver. So we're at 2-1, Jake. 1-0 in the AFC South. How's your initial thoughts? Your takeaways? How did we look on the TV screen from there?
How did we look on the TV screen? Justin, we were talking about right before we started filming, but there's some good, maybe a little bit more bad in this game. But at the end of the day, you beat a division rival, a division contender, putting them at 3-0, getting a 2-possession victory at the end of the day. In a day where, you lost the turnover differential by 3. Teams that were -3 turnover differential have like a brutal winning percentage. So the Titans really did make it hard on themselves on Sunday. But all things considered, 9-point victory over the Colts. I mean, if I said that coming into the game, would have been happy with that result. So, take it with a grain of salt and be happy you're on top of the division.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that's Titans football. Nothing can come easy, even when you expect a better performance. I thought the Titans played pretty well. Those turnovers were killers, man. If it wasn't for those, I think this margin of victory would have been a lot bigger, and we could have had a more relaxing second half. But we can get more in depth into that a little bit later. But I guess we can go through this as we can talk about the good things we saw, and then we can move to the bad things, because there's a lot there to unpack a bit. So, like we said, a win is a win, and the rest of the division lost their games in Week 3. So, Titans sitting atop of the AFC South standings by themselves here at the end of September. So that's good to see. That's what we expected, honestly, coming into the year, and the Titans are right there. Let's talk about Ryan Tannehill. It seemed like, I was at the game, and so you can kind of process things maybe a little differently. And it felt like he was a little off. It felt like, this wasn't his best game. But after the game and kind of sitting back, looking at the box score, rewatching the highlights, I thought Tannehill really was, better than what his stats showed. He had that bad interception early on. I think it was our first turnover, where the pocket was just there and sitting there, and I think nobody was getting open, and so it seemed like a panic throw. I don't know, but it looked like we had 2 guys right there, and they both split off in the opposite directions to get open right as Tannehill was throwing it to him. So I don't know, maybe it was just kind of a panicked thing, or he felt like he had to get rid of the ball. I thought he could have still held on to the ball longer. The pocket was surprisingly just there for him to stand there and camp out. So that was bad, but overall, I thought he managed this game beautifully. He was pretty clutch on third downs. He was passing the ball, moving the chains, and especially running the football. Tannehill looked good. This guy, he's a mobile quarterback, but he's getting old, and he's still like juking out and outrunning linebackers, getting to the edge and then cutting it back. He's got some wheels still, and God help him. I'm so happy he has that element to his game, but he's still taking hits and he's still taking shots. And we need Tannehill to be healthy if the Titans want to go anywhere this season. And he was working with these receivers, Jake, and that's going to be a big bad that we can talk about. But credit to Tannehill. Stand up if you had Tannehill throwing 3 touchdown passes to Jeremy McNichols, Nick Westbrook-Akini, and Chester Rogers. Stand up if you had that on your bingo card coming into this game, Jake.
Anyone? No, I don't think anybody had that in there, single game parlay or anything like that. That was interesting trio there.
Yeah, not exactly what anyone would expect. So, Tannehill was actually pretty good this game. And like I said, I thought he was better than the stats show. But what did you think while you were watching him?
Tannehill, I thought it was tremendous what he was doing, especially, like you said, running the ball. He had his career high in rushing in a single game at 56 yards on 5 carries, 11.2 a pop. And we've seen him early this year take off. And like you said, he'll get to the sideline, and right when guys are kind of pulling up because they think he's going to slide, he puts his foot in the ground and gets an extra 5-10 yards. And you love to see that athleticism from Tannehill. Kind of taking the game into his own hands when, yes, A.J. Brown and Julio are not on the field and he has to make something happen. So definitely love to see that out of Ryan Tannehill. The first interception was kind of bad. I thought the second interception was Chester Rogers' fault.
Oh, for sure.
But, I mean, it's kind of 50-50 because, it's a shorter route and Tannehill's throwing the, 120-mile-an-hour heater at his hands. So, give and take there, but still Chester Rogers got to come down with that catch. But yeah, I love the way Ryan Tannehill looked today. Again, you said his stats made him look a little less subpar, but I really think he took over this game alongside Derrick Henry, who had a quietly over 100-yard performance. But yeah, I like Tannehill's game today.
Yeah, he was making plays, a big-time first down to Cameron Batson late in the game, a first down throw on third down to tight end Michael
Pruitt.
Again, Michael Pruitt showed up, made a big play for us. He's still getting it done with these weapons that I hope aren't always there. I mean, we need Julio Jones and A.J. Brown on the field a lot more. Hopefully this isn't going to be a problem, the rest of the year. But let's move on. Another good thing, I thought Derrick Henry put in it wasn't his best game. I thought Indianapolis did a good job containing him, contained the line of scrimmage. No big runs from Henry. He got a few, chunk runs of 10 to 12 yards. It was a very workmanlike performance. I think he had 113 yards on 4 yards per carry. But he ran strong. I thought he was running well. And he was doing the best he could with what the blocking was giving him. I mean, there were times when we were just force feeding him and he would be, met in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage and he would fight for 2 yards. And I think that happened multiple times. So I thought he was playing pretty well. And one thing I have noted here is it seems to be a thing, especially this year, where Derrick Henry just keeps bulldozing whatever's in front of him, including our own offensive linemen. Like, dude, you're going to get one of our guys hurt. There was this run in particular, I remember, in the first quarter. He crushed Nate Davis from behind and sent him to the ground immediately. And it was one of his better runs of the day, so maybe that was just necessary. So sorry, Nate Davis, you had to be the recipient of that.
Yeah.
But he also gave us a highlight trucking of Darius Leonard. Beautiful to see that. Beautiful to see that, Jay. And again, he showed up in the pass game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wanted to say on Derrick Henry's performance, definitely saw a first from Derrick Henry, at least in my memory. And, we've seen a lot of Derrick Henry do a lot of things. So it's definitely interesting when we see him do something for the first time. And I could not believe they split him out wide. And when have we ever thrown it to him when he's split out wide? We just kind of gave him a little, pitch pass to the side and he went and picked up a first down. You love to see it. You love to see Derrick Henry adding the passing game element to his overall game. And that's just going to open things up for this Titans offense moving forward. Definitely a workman performance from Derrick Henry. I thought he might rip off a long one because again, we talk about it almost every week, but you can feel when Derrick Henry is getting going, getting the legs going, and you can see the push when he hits the hole of the offensive line. One of these times he's going to go, the distance.
Yeah, I expected it. I expected it to come this game. It felt like he was getting close, but it never happened. So, credit to Indianapolis for doing the best they could, and which was pretty good, I thought, against Henry.
Yeah, and pretty good against Henry is still 113 yards, 4.0 yards a touch. No touchdowns for Derrick Henry, but we're definitely spoiled. Definitely spoiled. I like what you said. Workman performance from Derrick Henry for sure.
Yeah. Moving on, let's move opposite sides of the ball. Some of the good things we saw from our defense, and I know I believe you said this in our preview video, and I think you expected this, coming in, that you kind of expected our defense to play well, to be more of that bend but don't break kind of defense, which was like the trademark of our defenses with, I think it was Malarkey. And also like that 2019, that playoff run to the AFC Championship, we had a very bend but don't break defense, and I thought we saw exactly that. We gave up. They were especially good in the red zone. We were giving up drives, and they were getting us on the ground for sure. But they put the clamps on when it mattered most. They gave up they were good on third down again, 3 of 12 on third downs. However, they did convert 2 fourth and shorts. So they allowed 2 fourth down conversions, but overall they were forcing field goals in the red zone. Keeping Indianapolis still behind, playing from behind. I thought it was good. The pressure was good. Carson Wentz, of course, isn't as mobile as he could be if he was healthy, but we were still getting back there, causing him to just throw passes into the ground and, rushing throws. We had 10 QB hits, and 5 of them came from Harold Landry, who also recorded a half sack. So I love the start to the season for Harold Landry. Overall, the defense was good. Christian Fulton, again, I just saw this stat. I'm glad I saw this before coming on. Mike Herndon tweeted that he allowed like 1 catch for 5 yards on like 6 or 7 or 8 targets. What a start to the season. Is he a shutdown corner, Jake? Christian Fulton has been amazing for this secondary.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about it last week, but this Titans defense really needed somebody to ascend to be the cornerback 1 of this defense. And you didn't really have a ton of faith in Jack Rabbit Jenkins, especially at his age, to kind of rise up among the younger guys in this Titans secondary and become that number 1. But Christian Fulton, I was really worried late when he came out of the game, but he eventually did come back in for the final Colts drive. So he looks to be surviving the injury report, at least as far as the Indianapolis game was concerned. But yeah, love what you see from Christian Fulton. I think the 1 catch for 5 yards was DK Metcalf's stat line. Is that Christian Fulton's like signature stat line? He'll give up 1 catch for 5 yards, but other than that, you got nothing.
Yeah, you can't throw his way. You're not going to get it. Super pleased. And we still have Caleb Farley lurking in the midst. Hopefully we get a return from him and he may be able to contribute even more to the secondary. But man, we needed somebody in the secondary to step up and play good football, and Christian Fulton's giving us that. So looking like a great second round draft pick. We just had to wait a year for him to get on the field. Really, he only played a handful of games last year, but it has panned off beautifully this year for us. Kind of the last point I have about the good is, again, the amazing story or stat line here is the 3 turnovers, and we still won by 2 possessions and never trailed the whole game. These were bad turnovers too. We were deep in Colts territory. Nick Westbrook-Akeen's fumble, I was ready to pull my hair out. I was like, dude, where's Julio Jones? Why are we throwing it to this guy? He did catch a touchdown pass for us earlier that game, but that's what you're going to get with these kind of receivers. And like, I'm sorry, but these guys aren't your starter caliber receivers. They're good in their own roles, but man, these turnovers were bad. But despite that, 1 by 2 possessions. Do you think that says more about this Titans team, or are the Colts just pretty bad? Are they they looked bad, honestly, in person?
Yeah, with the 3 turnovers, Justin, you obviously hate to see that. And, they came on the plus side of the field, 2 within the red zone, I believe. And you said it, the Nick Westbrook fumble inside the 10, absolutely backbreaking. But you like to see those drives rolling right along, Henry looking good, Tannehill, moving the chains. And you'd think if, at least 1 or 2 or more of those drives end up in the end zone, the final score, the Titans win by a lot more than 9 points.
Yeah, for sure. And you had said this earlier, but it reminded me of that Baltimore Ravens 2008 playoff game. I thought the exact same thing. Where we were just time and time again getting down the field on them and then just shooting ourselves in the foot and giving them the ball inside the red zone. So this time we were able to overcome it, thank goodness. But speaking of that, we can move on to the bad that we saw and start talking about the bad things in this game, Jake. And I
do have a bonus good point before we get to the bad. Yeah. And I just really wanted to highlight, I saw this on Twitter, that Our marquee free agent pass rusher from the Pittsburgh Steelers is really showing up on the stat sheet. Multiple sacks in this game. And of course, Justin, Ola Adeni just coming through in a huge way. Him and Harold Landry, definite game wreckers in this one. I mean, Carson Wentz, granted, playing on 2 sprained ankles. We saw him throwing the ball in the dirt a lot. You'd expect the Titans pass rush to get home on such an immobile quarterback in this game. But shout out Ola Adeni. I mean, coming around, love to see this pass rush kind of ramp up for the Titans.
Dude, yeah, totally good point there. That's definitely a good thing that we've seen now 2 games in a row where he's been a disruptive force. Hopefully this unknown guy that's also from Pittsburgh, I think he went undrafted, Bud Dupree, I think it's his name. Hopefully that free agent can help us do something. No, but and it's so good that Ola is showing up. We needed somebody to show up. Rashad Weaver just broke his leg or something. So we're getting a little thin here on the outside linebacker pass rush position. So we needed somebody to show up and play well for us, and he's filling that role beautifully. So hope to see more from that. I think he's leading our team in sacks after 3 games. So maybe there is more to come from Ola. So good call there. But going back to the bad here, the turnover differential, Jake, now in general is now at -6. And that is second worst in the league behind the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we don't want to be anywhere near Jacksonville in any kind of stat department. We've got to improve that, Jake. We're still 2-1. The record at the end of the day is better or is more important, obviously. But this is not sustainable. We've got to find a way to get more takeaways. We have one. We have the Kevin Byard interception in week 1. The defense has got to be a little more opportunistic in general. And yeah, the offense, man, just again 3 turnovers. That would make 7 totals turnovers from the offense. So not sustainable. We're not going to continue to get away with this against the more elite teams on our schedule. So it was bad, Jake. Again, I think Mike Vrabel had to have been pissed about this because he preaches, taking care of the ball and getting turnovers, and we literally did the opposite of that.
Yeah, and it's, I think I heard after the game he was, fuming, pissed off in his press conference, slammed the door on his way out. And that's after a 9-point win against your division rival. He's never beat the Colts in Nashville, and they beat the Colts in Nashville, and Mike Vrabel is pissed and slamming doors. Definitely going to have to get the turnovers under control. We said in our preview of this game that we need to get the strip sacks under control. Well, we did that, Justin. We got that under control, but it was different turnovers that were our Achilles heel this time. Definitely not going to get away with this down the schedule, but silver lining is you're 2-1 still, top of the division, got the big win under your belt against the Colts. So silver linings aplenty here. But there's nowhere to go but up from week 3, especially ranking 31st in turnover differential. Yeah,
and speaking of Vrabel, I saw another Mike Herndon tweet. We shout out Mike Herndon all the time, but he's got the best tweets. That it's good to see even after a win, a coach be extremely pissed off. Because, Mike Vrabel is one of those coaches that values the process even more so than the results. And if we get the results, but the process is bad getting there and he's pissed off about it, that's a good thing. We gotta fine tune this thing if we want to make some noise this season. And that's kind of the opposite from what we saw. Remember Mike Mularkey? If we won an ugly game 13-9 and we looked bad doing it, he would be the coach that would still be happy with it. Like a win is a win and nothing would change. He would not change the process and how we got there. And so that's what I think Frable is good at, is that, changing the process, making sure that we look good and getting the results at the same time. And that's how you're going to, make runs and win Super Bowls and all that. So, I'm glad Mularkey or Frable was as pissed as he was, because even like sitting in the stands, and I was with my brother and he was like, Justin, I'm glad we're winning and that we'll probably win, but it doesn't feel like super good. I wanted to pulverize. I wanted to dominate the Colts in this game, and I feel like we should have, and we didn't. But yeah, I wanted that too.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep saying it over and over again. 2-possession win in the NFL is a 2-possession win in the NFL. I mean, you'll take it all day long, but definitely at the end of the day, it felt like the Titans should have won this game by 20 plus. And that's just the way it goes. But it's not always going to be pretty. Mike Vrabel's post-game speech that came out, it's not always pretty, but it's always beautiful when you get a win.
Yeah, that is true. My next point here on the bad, we don't have to spend too much time on this because I do want to get to this wide receiver issue that we now have coming out of the game. But the defense they've been good against the run, average to above average, I would say, against the run the first two games. But they were pretty suspect against containing Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines was the Colts MVP this game. This dude just gives us problems time and time again. And he was a matchup nightmare for us all game long. He got their only touchdown of the game. And it was also effective through the air. But Jonathan Taylor was gashing us for 10, 12. I think he had a 20-yard run in this game. But the Colts carried the ball 18 times, and I'm glad they decided to do that. And Carson Wentz throwing the ball 37 times. It's not like they were down by 20 points. So I don't know why they opted to throw the ball as much as they did when it seemed like the run was working pretty well for them. So that kind of worked out for this run defense. But, that was kind of, something we could kind of lean on. I thought that the run defense was something that we could kind of lean on with this unit, throughout the rest of the year. But I thought maybe they got exposed a little bit. Indy's offensive line is good. I know they've kind of been underperforming, but it was kind of discouraging to see, they were very effective on the ground, in my opinion.
Definitely. And I don't know if you kind of put a positive spin on this and get a trade-off with the pass rush being as good as it was yesterday versus the run defense getting gashed. Definitely would like to see some of those holes close up. I'm still very happy with the tackling efforts of this Titans team. I feel like we haven't seen a ton of missed tackles this year, especially Jackrabbit Jenkins coming off the edge, who's not afraid to tackle. Definitely a slight concern letting Jonathan Taylor run wild. But again, this is a good Colts offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is a proven commodity at running back. So, at least, if there was something to give up, at least it wasn't a hobbled Carson Wentz 300-yard game,
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of tackling, that made me think, David Long Jr. led this team in tackles again this game. I'm sorry, but I really didn't notice Jayon Brown had played or was on the field. And I looked at it now, and I looked at the stats, and I was like, oh, that's why. Jayon Brown had one tackle over the course of the whole game. And I noticed Rashawn Evans and David Long Jr. out there. So I don't know if Brown's snaps were limited or if he just still isn't back 100%. But again, David Long Jr. is a fantastic player for this defense, and he needs to be on the field, maybe even start and play as much as he possibly can because he's very versatile. He can do it all. He had a tackle for loss as well. He can get behind the line of scrimmage and make plays. I like what you said. This defense is good at tackling, good at not giving up a whole bunch of yards after contact, or once we get our, hands on the offensive player, they're going down and not getting much more than that. So
for sure.
So that is good.
I'm glad you brought up David Long Jr. Sorry to cut you off there, but I'm really glad you brought that up because watching the broadcast, it seemed like he was in on every single play. Dude was flying around the field. And he very well could, especially with Jayon Brown dealing with, injuries as of late. He's kind of gunning for that starting role, Justin. Yeah.
It wouldn't, I wouldn't be upset about it. I love Jayon, or maybe he should start in place of Evans, but I don't know. I don't think I'm not noticing Evans mess up where it was very noticeable last year. I think Evans is quietly having a better year, kind of. We'd still love to see like a splash play, maybe force a fumble, get a sack in the backfield or something like that. But I think Evans he's not a problem for this defense so far this year. I don't think. Or maybe he is not filling the holes on this run defense. Maybe that's him and that's his problem. It could be. I don't know. I would need to go back and look at the highlights again. But let's move on to more bad. A.J. Brown, hurt hammy. Julio Jones, mystery still. What's going on? Why was he not on the field in these crucial moments, on these crucial drives to salt this game away? Josh Reynolds, is he a bust of a signing? Why is he a healthy scratch? When we're starting out Chester Rogers and Westbrook Akini and Racey McMath, And in a big, important time in the ball game, I have no confidence, Jake, especially seeing how two of those players were big-time contributors on two of our turnovers. I don't know. Is this a problem? Is this something to worry about? A.J. Brown does not look right. He didn't look healthy. I thought Tannehill threw a really good deep ball to him, and the A.J. Brown of last year, I feel like could have caught that. He would have attacked it more at least. It looked like he definitely looked hobbled, and I thought Tannehill didn't overthrow that pass necessarily at all. But right after that, yeah, he doesn't play for the rest of the game. So are you worried about these wide receivers, Jake?
A.J. Brown, slightly worrisome. You always hate to see him in a T-shirt shorts for the second half of a game that he started. And I'm glad you brought up that play, Justin. I even said that when it happened. A.J. Brown's got to at least attempt a play on that ball. It seemed like they both just kind of let up and jogged past it. I thought it was a good ball. Julio Jones, definitely a weird situation. Mike Vrabel in his press conference said it was almost a load management thing, which doesn't make any sense at all when you're playing a division rival trying to close out the game in the fourth quarter. Why is Julio Jones on the bench? And it was funny. The broadcast was talking about injury speculation. There's no injury report, but Julio isn't holding his helmet or anything. And as soon as they went to Julio on the bench, he walks over, picks up his helmet, and kind of puts it on his hip. So I'm sure Mike Vrabel was like, Julio, just hold your helmet so they stop talking to me. But Julio, definitely interesting. He looked good. He looked healthy. He looked spry. He was in, throwing key blocks on Derrick Henry runs, even late third quarter, and then all of a sudden, poof, he's out of the lineup. So definite interesting question mark there.
And there's going to be all kinds of rumors. I'm already starting to hear rumors of, is there tension between Julio and Frable? And it's like, I don't care if there's tension. Julio is a Hall of Fame player, and he needs to be out there for your football team and making plays.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very suspicious, I think, because it's not like the game was decided. It was a load management. He didn't look hobbled or anything.
No.
On any of his plays. He had a fantastic effort on a 9-yard reception where he broke a couple tackles and almost stretched the ball and got the first down. He looks good and he looks healthy. I don't know. Vrabel is a weird guy sometimes. And it seems like he needs to be a little more candid for us. Remember how Adoree Jackson the entire year was a mystery. He wouldn't even did we even know what injury he had? That was such a bizarre situation. More mysteries now this year with Julio starting. So hopefully we can get some answers instead of the media and fans just making up narratives where we're just completely guessing. So yeah, I'm a little concerned about whatever happened with Julio in the second half.
My concern level with these two wide receivers at injury. And then also, you mentioned another big acquisition. Bud Dupree was active for this game, but he was very much break glass in case of emergency active for this game because he started the game with a big ice pack on his knee, didn't play a single snap in the contest. So definitely, Mike Vrabel's uncandidness with injuries definitely lets the rumor mill swirl more and more. But my concern level with this grouping of injuries would be higher if you didn't look at our schedule and see the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, ramps back up with the Buffalo Bills at home and then the Kansas City Chiefs at home, and then we go through the murderer's row. But these guys have 2 weeks in winnable games to kind of get right, maybe play on a pitch count or not necessarily have to play the whole game. You'd think hopefully next week against the Jets, the Titans are able to not shoot themselves in the foot and run away by 20 points. But yet to be seen. But the schedule ahead makes me feel a little bit better about getting A.J. Brown and Julio Jones rested up, or you don't even know what's going. I mean, A.J. Brown did not look right. He was kind of pulling up, hamstring tweak. We saw this last year with a kind of a leg injury with I can't remember if it was a hamstring or not, but A.J. Brown kind of had a lingering thing early last year too before he got rolling down the stretch. So we'll see, Justin. Mike Vrabel is not going to give us any answers in any press conferences. We know that for sure.
Hopefully, that gets sorted out. I'm glad, the next 2 games, hopefully we can afford to rest AJ or figure out what's going on with Julio and still get the dubs in those 2 games. Random thought about Julio. We talked about the bad and the turnovers. Go back and look at the highlight where I think it was the Chester Rogers pass bounced up and was intercepted. Julio Jones comes out of nowhere like a cheetah chasing down his prey. He comes flying into the frame and just takes him down. It reminded me of the DK Metcalf chase down of, I think it was Buda Baker, the famous, he should have had a 100-yard pick six, and DK just runs him down. Julio was flying. Yeah, Julio was healthy, okay? Go watch that play and tell me Julio was like hobbled or whatever. He looks elite. That was an elite chase down tackle. It was really fun. And when I was watching the highlights, I don't remember. I think I was just pissed off when I was at the game and I just had my head down. But it made me laugh going back and look at the highlights. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, I think on the Chester Rogers pick, or might have been the Nick Westbrook fumble, either or, but Julio Jones made a tackle and Ryan Tannehill is making a tackle. Why can't somebody else make a tackle? Why does it have to be some of our headliners on offense who are getting their noses dirty and making these plays?
Yeah, that's funny. And they look good doing it too. Okay, if the defense is letting up, put these guys on defense, and they're going to crush some ball carriers. And that's the second time Tannehill's made like an elite tackle. Remember a couple of years ago, he chased down and just chopped down that Raiders defensive lineman.
All-time great play by a quarterback.
Yeah, Tannehill's a beast. Kind of the last thing, I guess, the bad. Dude, this Todd Downing and the play calling, I thought it was super hit and miss. It's hard to see, what is, when it's good, what is actually a designed play, Tannehill reads it and delivers, or is Tannehill just making plays in spite of the play calling and just taking advantage of the defense? Case in point, that Jeremy McNichols, I thought was the play of the game, 3rd and goal at the 10. We do a check down to McNichols and it works. The defense isn't there. They're playing like a soft zone and they're all chasing the receivers, running towards the end zone. I don't know if that was designed or if Tannehill saw that, checked it down to McNichols, and he scores. Huge play in the game. And I don't know, this play calling, dude, we just saw it time and again with the predictability, giving Henry the run up the middle for 2 yards. Henry, like I said, just scratching and clawing just to get those 2 yards. And it's like, are we setting up for play action? We've done that already, Todd. We've given the ball Henry 1,000 times in this game. Let's run more play action. And no, we just keep giving it to him time and again. And it's really not working when we need to be getting first down. So I don't know. I wasn't super crazy about the play calling. And maybe Tannehill is just making them look good with these receivers and these backup tight ends. Jeff Swaim had a bad drop. I think he bounced back, though, with a couple good catches. But, I don't know. Was the play calling predictable and more what we expect, I guess, from this guy now?
I will offer a single counterpoint to your Todd Downing disappointment, Justin. And Todd Downing has been able to do something that Arthur Smith couldn't do, Matt LaFleur couldn't do, and Terry Robisky sure as hell couldn't do. And that is get the screen game going for Derrick Henry. I know we're talking about not giving the ball to Henry a million times a game, but and also you say it like giving Derrick Henry the ball is a bad thing. And I have to give Todd Downing the tip of the cap to get Henry to be a pass catcher. He's already knocking on the door of his career high for season receptions in week 3. So definitely something to be said about finding a more creative way to get Derrick Henry in space versus 2 yards in a cloud of dust, even though we see that a lot. And I feel like with Derrick Henry, the way he plays, the way we've watched him play over the years, it's body blows, Justin. It's body blow, 2 yards, body blow, 2 yards, body blow, 80-yard home run. It's kind of a kick the door down situation, just try and wear him out. And that's just kind of the Derrick Henry game plan. Yes, you would like to see him let up a little bit in stacked boxes where there's 9 or 10 guys sometimes in a box, and you're sitting watching and you say, this is a run if I've ever seen one. And what do you know? Derrick Henry, no gain or 1 yard, -1, whatever. You would like to see them check out of that more often.
Yeah, I know there's just so many times, especially in the second half, where I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, oh man, now is a good time for play action. I think they're going to bite hard on this play action. We give the ball to Derrick Henry up the middle for 2 yards. It's like, we have it set up, I feel like. And, and I know we did do that a few times. Maybe I'm underselling it. Maybe we did run play action more than I'm remembering. But yeah. And yeah, in the screen game, like you said, I think we tried to do that a few times with Arthur Smith and Matt LaFleur, but it never worked. He was always tackled for a loss. And this time it's executed and it's working good. So, yeah, credit to Todd Downing for that. What did you think about Mike Vrabel's decision to go for 2 at the end of the game after that McNichols touchdown? This is the second week in a row, Jake, where I disagreed with Vrabel about what to do. PAT, or 2-point conversion, I would have done the opposite, but it succeeds in Vrabel's favor, and we win the game both times. So, yeah, he just does the opposite of what I'm wanting to do and expecting, but it's working out. How did you feel about going for 2 to put the game at 9 points?
All for it. All for it. And just
Really?
Because it had the makings of a classic Colts Titans, Titans home letdown spot. How many times were the Titans have the lead in the fourth quarter against this Indianapolis Colts teams of the past, obviously, and Andrew Luck would march right down and have the go-ahead touchdown. I like the idea of burying the team while you got them. It pretty much put the game away. And also, I would challenge you to go back and find a Titans goal line situation where they ran the read option with Tannehill and Henry, and it didn't work. It works every single time, whether Henry takes it and walks right in like he did in this game, or Tannehill keeps it and walks right in
and
like we've seen him do many times before. I want them to run that play. They should go for 2 with that play every single time. Why not? Because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. If you kind of see Henry on the back, left hip of Tannehill, you can kind of see it coming. But, whether either of them takes it, I bet you can't find an example where they didn't get in the end zone.
Yeah, that's true. We should just run that play every single time. We're not even on the goal line. That's our play. That's all we're doing every single play. It did feel like I kind of suspect that call by Vrabel was maybe a decision just out of frustration. I'm sure he was so pissed up to that point, and he was like, "I'm ready for this game to be done. I hate our performance. We're going for 2, leaving nothing in question. I'm ready to put this game away and go to the locker room and yell at my team, even though we won." It seemed like a frustration decision. Like, this thing is, I'm not risking going into overtime and prolonging this thing. Should the Colts get a touchdown and extra point, or a 2-point conversion, that would have sent it to overtime. So yeah, it's working out. So these big decisions from your head coach, can't fault him when it's working. So yeah, credit to Vrabel for that. And also credit to Vrabel for winning a challenge. That's a good thing, Jake. Vrabel is horrible at challenges. I don't know if he's won more than 1 or 2 since he's been here as a Titan. So I can't remember if it affected the game at all. It was an incomplete pass. It was cold to catch, and then it ended up being incomplete. So I don't know if that ended up stalling a drive or not, but I don't care. We won a challenge. Hopefully there's more of that to come. So those are all the notes I have. Do you have anything else? We can look ahead to a Jets team that put up a goose egg against Denver. So that's looking good, Jake. Don't want to speak too soon because we know the Titans can make things more stressful than they should be. But yeah,
I just wanted to kind of cap this Colts game with just a general shout out to the depth guys. I mean, Ola Adeni, Nick Westbrook-Akina, fumble aside, big contributor in this game. He was our leading receiver in this game with 53 yards on 4 catches and his touchdown. And Nick Westbrook did hit the Billy White Shoes Johnson funky chicken celebration. Cool. Thank God somebody did it. I was waiting for it all game. But and even going to Jeremy McNichols, who, ran the ball a couple times, granted 2 times for 6 yards, but showed up in the passing game, caught an incredibly clutch touchdown on the 3rd and goal that you alluded to from the 10. And so just big shout out to the depth guys. I think with all the injuries in this game, it really just kind of highlighted that this team is bought in. And, you can count on these guys to come in off the bench and be ready in big situations.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's good that we got the job done with the depth guys. Love seeing the guys step up. Hopefully the Titans can use this week to just kind of rest their guys. Bud Dupree, get your knee right. And we possibly don't even need to rush them back if they're still not at 100% for this New York Jets game. But man, it would look bad if they could have played, but we're playing it safe and it backfired and we actually dropped an embarrassing game. But yeah, let's get AJ Brown right. The schedule does soften up, like you said, a little bit with Jacksonville and the Jets. Hopefully we can get those wins and get to 4-1. And that would be nice. And hopefully those our receivers can get healthy. We can figure out what's going on with Julio. Maybe not have to use Derrick Henry so much. He's carried the ball a ridiculous amount. He carried 35 times against Seattle, 28 times last week. So he's got a heavy workload already through September. And I know people say, he really just starts turning it on in winter. Or wait till we see December and November, because that's when he really picks up steam. Well, let's not run him at full tank out of gas by the time, October gets here. So, hopefully we can chill and get some wins and not have to use our guys as extensively as possible. But yeah, we'll see. And Josh Reynolds, please get on the field for us. We went out and got you. We paid you big money. Are you not performing or are you hurt? No, he's not hurt. He's a healthy scratch.
But, Chester Rogers has come up and become the wide receiver 3. We've seen in the first 3 weeks that Chester Rogers is a dependable wide receiver 3. And he's catching touchdowns. I mean, again, shouting another player out if you forget the turnover, the ball that bounces off his chest and ends up as an interception.
Off his
but Chester Rogers, I like it, off his Chester. You like what you see from Chester Rogers, and if Josh Reynolds is still hurt or underperforming, why not keep putting him out there and having him contribute to this team? So definitely liking that the schedule lightens up, get some guys some rest. I mean, there's no such thing as a guaranteed win in the NFL, but this Jets team is really, really, really bad, Justin. And let's just really hope that we can get some guys healthy and not have a letdown spot in New York. It would be a really, really bad look for this team if they do have a letdown spot.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be close. The Titans are going to find a way to make that game close. And real quick, and this is totally random, but I just remember we should shout out Chester Rogers and what he's doing for us in the punt return game. He had 3 punt returns for 44 yards, a 14-yard average. I mean, that's nice. We don't have a good history recently of punt returning and kick returning being part of an effective part of the game for the Titans. So despite his turnover that he, I would like 90% put that on him. I know Tannehill fired it in really fast, probably too fast for him to contain, but you're a pro.
You got to catch it.
You got to catch it. Put your hands on it, or at least somehow don't let it bounce up. Let it bounce down and complete.
Yeah.
But I love what he's doing for us in on special teams and in the punt return game. So yeah, love to see him contributing in that aspect. I guess that's going to do it. We got the Jets next. We get to see old friend Corey Davis. Anywho, so do you have anything else? Do you want to take us out?
Nothing else other than just be happy with beating the Colts by 9 at home. First win at home since 2017. Just be happy about that. You're on top of the division by a full game at this point, 3 weeks into the year. And you look down and you see Houston at 1-2, perfect. And you see the Jags at 0-3, perfect. Something we didn't expect to see. The Colts, even better, at 0-3. So good all around as far as the AFC South is concerned. I know divisions aren't won in September, but the week 3 win against the Colts right here in this exact spot was about as close as you can get to putting a stranglehold on your division in week 3. So knock on wood as far as that goes and progresses during the season. Let's look ahead to New York. Let's not have a letdown spot. No such thing as a guaranteed win in the NFL. Let's go to East Rutherford, get a win, tighten up, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And Justin, glad to be 2-1.
Love it. I love being 2-1 too, especially after the sloppiness of the first game of the year. We're looking more and more like the Titans. The Titans that give us stress and anxiety, and it's great.
Rather than just depression, I would accept stress and anxiety over depression when it comes to the Titans.
Yeah, if they come with wins, then I'm all about high blood pressure. So
yep,
we're continuing to get it done like that, I'm sure. So, like you said, tighten up, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Leave us a comment. And, yeah, we'll see you with our game preview for the New York Jets here in a few days.
Let's do it. Peace out.